right now, what they should all be doing is they should be standing behind Israel as Israel finally takes on all of these radical Islamists at its borders who wish to eliminate the Jewish state. The right thing right now for us to hear from Joe Biden, from Kamala Harris, is support for Israel and giving Israel every asset and everything the Israelis need right now in the seven-front war that they're in for their very survival.
Ellie, great to see you. And what a time for you to come to us with insights on a regime you know all too well, the Iranian regime. Ellie, today, what's Iran's thinking in this attack today? Israel, it seems, is going to have a major response. You think it would. Was Iran trying to save face today? What's the regime thinking to poke the bear in Israel like this?
Eric, first of all, it's always so good to be with you, and thank you for having me on. We're living in historic times, Eric. Just to pan out for a minute, we are now almost at the one-year memorial of the October 7th attack on Israel, which left, as your audience knows, 1,500 people dead, massacred on October 7th. And, you know, for 1 year, Israel has been under attack from Iranian proxies, from Hezbollah, from Hamas, from the Houthis, even Iraqi militias, and even from Syria. And so what we've seen in response, Eric, is an incredible strategy from the IDF where they have very systematically taken out the Iranian proxies. So at this point, I think that they can claim victory against Hamas. They are working very strongly against Hezbollah, and your last guest detailed all of the incredible IDF feats, their intelligence feats against Hezbollah, the operation again with the pagers and so on. And so now Iran, I think, was cornered. They were backed into a corner where, in order to save face, they felt the necessity to respond and attack Israel directly again in some way. But, you know, even as I say those words, it doesn't come out for me the right way, because we know that the Islamic Republic of Iran has been behind all of these attacks on Israel since October 7th, almost a year now. And so, Eric, the choice that the Iranian regime had to make was whether they themselves would personally and directly from the Iranian homeland attack Israel. Until now, they've been using their Arab proxies to do their dirty work.
Yeah, but it seems like that strategy, Ellie, is now unraveling. As Hezbollah is being smashed, Hamas is in its death throes right now. Do you think Iran miscalculated here? They've built up Hezbollah. Look, 42 years. They created Hezbollah in 1942. 42 years of building Hezbollah up, only to see it all unravel in the span of 2 weeks. As you said, Iran seems to have backed itself into a corner here, and they seem desperate.
Eric, you know, the Iranian regime strategy, where it went wrong, is from the very beginning. They were born in 1979 with the Islamic Revolution that took over my birthplace, with anti-Semitism that I call obsessive anti-Semitism. And they have made it the very reason that they exist from day one was their desire to, quote unquote, eliminate Israel. And Eric, I would argue that is where they went wrong. It's not their ring of fire strategy where they have tried to surround Israel on every border with their terror proxies. It's not the fact that they're spending billions of dollars on their nuclear program. It's not any one thing. It's all of it, Eric. It's their entire obsessive desire to, as they say, wipe Israel off the map of the earth. And what the Iranian regime doesn't understand is that there's no way the Jewish state of Israel would ever allow that to happen. And as Americans, I think we can feel very proud knowing that there's no way that the United States of America would ever allow that to happen. Now, you know, I served under President Trump. And obviously, the policy on Iran under President Trump was incredibly different. President Trump really had the Iranians defanged. He exerted the maximum pressure campaign on them, where they were left bankrupt at the end of our administration. And so, you know, Iran policy under President Trump was incredibly different. I would imagine it would be very, very different if he comes back to the White House.
An unprecedented Iranian missile barrage today against Israel. Some 181 ballistic missiles fired at the world's one and only Jewish state. The question now is, what comes next? We're talking to Ellie Cohanim, former State Department official, and I believe we have Elan Carr with us as well, the former point man at the State Department under President Trump for combating anti-Semitism and CEO of the Israeli-American Council. Elan, welcome. This is an all-star team here, Ellie and Elan. Elan, impressions today. We had heard maybe Iran won't do anything. Look, Ismail Haniyeh, the Hamas leader, killed about a month and a half ago. Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah, the Hezbollah leader, killed on September 27th. And some said, well, Iran's in such a weakened position, they won't do anything. But they did do something today. It could have been lethal. Thank God it wasn't. Your first impressions of what we saw unfold today?
Well, Eric, it's great to be with you, and it's great to hear the voice of my colleague and friend, Ellie Cohanim. Look, this was a tough day. You know, this is all about deterrence. And after October 7th, Israel suffered really a tremendous blow to its ability to protect its people and deter bad actors from attacking it. Thank God, in the last really few months, because of remarkable IDF tactics in Gaza and with respect to Hezbollah and Lebanon, really, Israel has not only restored its deterrent capability, but I would say acquired a lot more deterrent force than it had on October 6th, before those horrific attacks of nearly 1 year ago. And Iran does not want that to happen. Its strategy of isolating and weakening the Jewish state requires that either through its proxies or direct attack, that Israel be hobbled and really be unable to respond. And now that's the issue. The issue is, will Israel be constrained from responding? Will Israel say, well, you know what? No one was killed, thank God. And so whether by internal decision or U.S. pressure, Israel doesn't respond, my guess is Israel will have to respond, because we have ballistic missiles raining down on a country. I mean, can you imagine raining down on a country from an enemy country? There is absolutely no choice but to deter behavior with a response that is severe. That's what probably is being discussed right now as we speak in the safe room in the Kiryat, in the Situation Room, as the IDF high command and the Prime Minister's office and the Security Cabinet are discussing their options.
And Elan, no other nation would be asked to put up with this. Israel is bombarded twice in the past few months by the Iranian regime, and the response of the world is essentially, Israel, restrain yourself, or as Joe Biden said back in April with the last Iranian attack, look, you got the win, take the win. Could you imagine if missiles were raining down upon Texas or Minnesota, God forbid, the United States would not stand for it, and yet Israel is held to this impossible standard. It's madness.
Yeah. You know, I served Iraq, and I got to tell you, it's easy to talk about, well, rocket fire, well, missiles. You know, when you get shot at, and I was in that position, it's pretty scary. And I was a soldier in Iraq, but these are civilians. These are kids and women and families who run into shelters, run for their lives into shelters, hear the wail of sirens, hear the booms of either a rocket or a missile landing or interceptor, and they're not sure which, right? It is absolutely terrifying. It's why in the Gaza envelope, at one point, 97% of the children living in that area were diagnosed clinically with PTSD. 97% of the children. And so this is real, and this is devastating. No country would allow it. No country should be expected to allow this kind of a savage attack from an enemy country that openly talks about wiping it off the map. And that's the key point here, Eric, is that Iran openly talks about destroying Israel, wiping it off the map, and careens toward the nuclear weapons capability that would allow it to do that, God forbid. And that's another reason why Israel has to respond, not only to deter malign behavior by the rogue regime in Iran, but also to ensure that Iran will never, ever be in a position where it can inflict real damage on the one Jewish state.
Yeah. Ellie Cohanim, it's been astounding to me, just as Israel is prepared to deal a death blow to Hezbollah, which is an enemy not only of Israel, but of the United States, with American blood on its hands, that now the Biden-Harris administration is calling for a ceasefire. and the world is gnashing its teeth, the likes of Macron in France, and they're wailing and demanding a ceasefire. Why? Why kick the can down the road and allow Hezbollah to live on to fight another day? It doesn't make much sense.
Eric, it makes no sense at all, and it's really wonderful for me to see Elan Carr on the screen, our former envoy to combat anti-Semitism. You know, Elan and I served under President Trump, and we saw the contrast where under President Trump, the Iranian regime was fully contained. They were bankrupt by the end of our administration, and President Trump eliminated Qasem Soleimani, the #1 terrorist, of the Iranian regime, of the IRGC, who had both American blood on his hands and Jewish and Israeli blood on his hands. So, Eric, to your question, the situation we have right now is that the Iranian regime is emboldened under the Biden-Harris administration, and the world powers, the Europeans, have got it exactly wrong. Right now, what they should all be doing is they should be standing behind Israel as Israel finally takes on all of these radical Islamists at its borders who wish to eliminate the Jewish state. The right thing right now for us to hear from Joe Biden, from Kamala Harris, is support for Israel and giving Israel every asset and everything the Israelis need right now in the 7-front war that they're in for their very survival. They are dealing with all of the Iranian proxies and now direct attack from the Islamic Republic regime. And again, the only thing we should be hearing out of Harris and out of Biden is complete support for Israel. This talk of ceasefire needs to end until Israel can declare a victory. And at that point, once they've declared victory, the time for diplomacy will come, but we're not there yet.
Stakelbeck Tonight, my all-new nightly series on current events through a bold biblical lens. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an upload, and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. And don't forget to share your thoughts, insights, and comments below. Thanks for watching, and God bless.